Tonight, new body camera video from a deadly police-involved shooting. It happened 1 week ago after officers tried for 2 hours to de-escalate a confrontation with a man having a mental health crisis.
The officer who opened fire was a crisis intervention officer, but in the wake of that shooting, there are a lot of questions being asked. John Rogers joins us now in studio. And John, you've been digging into that video that was released today, going minute by minute through it. Take us through this tragic incident and what we do know now.
Well, it certainly was a tragedy, guys, because officers were trying to help this man. Now, while in an ambulance, we're told that 41-year-old Clifford Brooks attacked a paramedic. So a crisis intervention officer was following them, came up to help and pepper sprayed Brooks. Let's take a closer look at this.
Okay, 5021. 21, man. What's your recruit's CAD number?
As you see, the pepper spray did not work and Brooks ran off into traffic. Officers went after him. Minutes later, they found him actually hiding under a truck and he had a metal object in his hand. Now, despite the warnings, Brooks lunged toward police and an officer fired his weapon multiple times.
He said he was under the bridge.
He's gonna go truck.
He's gonna go truck.
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it!
What's the address of that bridge? Stop fire, 1033. Stop fire.
Stay down.
Yeah, 1033. We got all units responding, okay?
Yeah, too graphic to show on television, folks. Sadly, Brooks died moments later. The officer is on mandatory administrative leave. Michelle?
John, thanks for walking us through that video. Another key part of this investigation will be the training of the crisis response officer who fired those deadly shots and how to handle situations like this.
Yeah, we're joined now by 7 News' Christian Flores. Christian, you were asking D.C. police leadership if officers are properly prepared for these types of scenarios.
Well, that's always the big question after an incident like this. According to MPD officials, Officer Claude Jackson was specifically called to this scene because of all of the training he has received. It is part of protocol for him to have followed that ambulance to the hospital. Before the day of this deadly shooting, Officer Jackson had gone through 2 different training programs specific to handling mental health crises.
He has an additional 40 hours of training specializing in how to deal with individual folks that are inside a mental health crisis. Additionally, he is an auxiliary member of our emergency response team, crisis negotiation team.
And the crisis negotiation team requires at least 80 additional hours of training. That means Officer Jackson had at least 120 hours of training on how to de-escalate situations like this.
After watching a video like this, Christian, it begs the question, could this situation have been handled any differently?
Well, that's a good question. That's a question I even had. 7 News is on your side, and I asked MPD Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll if there were any other de-escalation measures Officer Jackson could have taken based on his training, but didn't.
I mean, that's going to be part of the investigation. Again, we're 5 days out and we don't have all the evidence. There is the criminal review that will take place first, but we'll look into all that to see, what did the officer, all the measures that were taking place, are there other things that could have been done?
After an incident and outcome like this, are you considering changes to crisis intervention training and policies?
As part of any use of force investigation, it will go to our use of force review board, who will review everything, all the testimonial evidence, the physical evidence, and they'll make recommendations. Types of things that can come out of that are policy changes or additional training.
And when it comes to additional training, you might recall MPD just launched a new program mandating all sworn officers go through crisis response training starting this year. Now, Michelle Scott will follow that up throughout the year.
All right, thank you for those important questions, Christian. Well,